Welcome back. Fundamental analysis is the main essence of investing. In fact, some would say that we're not really investing if he or she is not doing the fundamental analysis. Macroeconomic factors are given importance in the phase of analysis. Main purpose of economic analysis is to identify where exponential growth can be seen. Economic analysis can help investors avoid investing in companies that are operating in poor market conditions. One must spend time understanding the factors operating in the overall economy. When the economy expands, most industries and companies are expected to benefit and grow. And when the economy contracts or sees slow growth, it leads to lower business profits, resulting in lower share prices. Economic analysis has to be seen and analyzed from 5 factors. First one is GDP. Second is interest rates and inflation. Third is unemployment. Fourth is consumer confidence and spending. Fifth is FDI, that is foreign direct investment. Let's talk about all these factors. First is GDP. GDP is the market value of all goods and services produced within the country during a year. As the economy grows, consumers tend to increase their spending, which results in increase in sales for the company's goods and services. Once sales increases, companies will spend more, hire more people, and if the employment increases, more cash is in the hands of people, which results in more spending and saving. You can go to this link and see the various indicators country-wise. Let's go to India and see the GDP indicator of the country. Let's go to www.tradingeconomics.com. So you can see it's written calendar, news, indicators, markets, and forecasts. Now we go to indicators. Like we have to go to India's indicators. So we go to click on countries. In countries, you can see all the countries of the world. Now we go to Asia. We click on India. You can see the GDP growth rate. You can see the GDP growth rate and the GDP annual growth rate. So the GDP growth rate, if you click on GDP growth rate, it's written the GDP growth rate is India expected 1.10% in the fourth quarter of 2019 over the previous quarter. So January to March 2020, GDP growth rate is 1.1%. Similarly, October to December 2019 GDP growth rate was same as 1.1%. So it calculated on a quarterly basis. You can see the GDP growth rate from last 2 years, quarterly wise. And this is the actual 1.1, this is actual, this is the previous 1.1. So the highest GDP growth rate from 1996 to 2019 is 5.8 and the lowest quarterly wise is minus 1.80. Now we go back, see what is the GDP annual growth rate. GDP annual growth rate means GDP of the country on an annualized basis quarterly wise. So this is the quarterly GDP, but it's on annualized basis. And the previous was on quarterly basis. So you can see the actual growth rate April to June 2020 is 3.1 and in January to March 2020 was 4.10%. Similarly, you can see the highest and lowest in these years. These are called calculated on quarterly basis but is in annualized manner. So you can see the Indian economy expanded 3.1% in the first quarter 2020. 3.1 here, it means April to June 2020 is 3.1%, beating market forecast of 2.1%. You can see that GDP might be decreasing year on year, but if the forecast is, whatever forecast the analysis is done by the analysts or the economic people, if the forecast is less and the actual GDP came higher, then markets can increase. So it depends upon the perception and what the actual figures come. You can check various indicators of India also, like the unemployment rate, inflation rate, interest rate. You can check all the indicators. Now let's talk about interest rate and inflation. Interest rates and inflation are related to each other. By inflation means a general rise in price of goods and services. Current inflation in India in June 2020 is around 6.09%. What does that mean? Suppose price of any vegetable is available at 100 rupees in 2019 and the price of the same vegetable is 106 in 2020. That means 6.09% inflation, that the price of vegetable had increased by 6 rupees. That's inflation, which occurs when the economy is consuming faster than it produces, as spending is more. Now, when the prices rise too much, then the consumer will not spend much more and cuts his spending, which will result in contraction of the economy. So, in order to control the inflation, central bank had to step in and raises the interest rates so that there is a balance in the prices. Interest rates are raised when inflation is there, and interest rates are lowered when deflation is there. Rising interest rate means cost of borrowing for both consumers and companies will increase, and when this happens, spending decreases, resulting in lowering of price of goods and services. Similarly, lowering interest rate means cost of borrowing for both consumers and companies will decrease, and when this happens, spending or borrowing increases, resulting in increase of prices of goods and services. This is being done by the central bank government to control the price volatility and have stability in the economy. Third is unemployment. Unemployment rate means percentage of the persons unemployed in India. If persons are unemployed, there will be no income, and so consumer spending will be less. If unemployment rate is low, it means economy of the country is growing. Profits for companies and jobs for employees are there. And if unemployment rate is high, it means recession is there as companies will start cutting jobs. People will try to save more and spend less because of losing jobs. As the same happened in COVID-19 crisis. And many companies experience lower demand for their goods and services, and also many people have lost their job. In COVID crisis, around 130 million people or 13 crores people have already lost their jobs in India out of 130 crore population. That is close to 10%, which you can see in the figure of consumer confidence. Consumer confidence in second quarter of 2020 have decreased as compared to first quarter because people lost their jobs, so spending had decreased. Fourth point is consumer confidence and spending. As the levels of consumer confidence changes, employment and interest rates changes. One can expect to see changes in the level of consumption and savings too. When the future prospects are low, one could expect consumers to save more than spend. Whereas when the future prospects are bright, one could expect the consumption to increase when spending is there, thereby increasing the consumer confidence. And lastly is the FDI, that is foreign direct investment. As the name suggests, it is an investment by a foreign individual or a company into business, capital markets, or production in the country. FDI plays an important role in the economic development of the country, where he does not exert significant control over the business. The capital inflow of foreign investors boosts infrastructure, increase productivity, and create employment opportunities in India. For the development of the economy, it is important to have new technology, proper management, and new skills. FDI bridges that technology gap between firms of domestic and foreign firms to boost the scale of production, which is beneficial and the betterment of the Indian economy. Thus, FDI is considered to be an asset to the economy. FDI allows foreign enterprises to establish their businesses in India. The establishment of these enterprises in the country generates employment opportunities for the people of India. Foreign companies carry a broad international marketing network and marketing information, which helps in promoting domestic products across the globe. Hence, FDI promotes export-oriented activities that improve the export performance of the country. Let's take an example. In India, largest FDI happened. That in Russian group Rosneft completes $2.9 billion buyout of Essar Oil. This deal was completed in the year 2017. It had bought 49% share of Essar group of companies like Essar Petrol Pump, Refinery, Power Plant, and the port. So the economic business cycles can drastically affect the company's performance. If the country is going through recession, companies struggle. Very upturn, companies prosper, which is reflected in the company's share prices. The primary meaning of business cycle and economic cycle refers to changes in the economic activity within the country or countries. The terms economic cycle and business cycle are interchangeable. Economics define the cycle by referring to the economic output. What they measure is the gross domestic product, that is the GDP. As stated earlier, GDP is just the market value of all goods and services produced within the country during a year. And when multinational companies produce in other countries, that activity is not part of home country GDP. The image below shows how the rising and falling GDP produces business cycle phases. You can see from the image, it presents another cycle, that is a stock market cycle. This cycle typically runs more or less parallel to the business cycle, but the stock market cycle is always ahead of the business cycle. Therefore, the stock market cycle acts as a leading indicator to future business cycle phases. The GDP of most countries tend to grow over time. At the long run range growth line in the future suggests, the long-term growth line serves as a baseline. Economic output fluctuates around the baseline with different business cycle phases. Note that the stock prices usually fall ahead or usually rise ahead of any changes in the economy. In reality, these cycles are unlikely to be predicted and irregular than those shown in the chart. As you can see from the chart, the expansion is there, the peak is there, the recession is happened after that, and the trough is there, then recovery and then expansion. And you can also see the black line as the long-term growth line, and the blue line is the economic output GDP with the various business cycle phases, and the dotted line is the stock market cycle, which is shown as ahead than the business cycle line. You can see from the graph that there are four stages of economic cycle: expansion, peak, recession, and trough. When GDP is increasing and unemployment decreasing, the economic cycle is an expansion phase, and when the economic cycle reaches the peak, the output starts decreasing, and at a later stage, when the output continues to decrease, demand of the products and services goes down, due to which company sales suffer, ultimately leading to layoffs in the company and the unemployment increases. This shows that the recession has creeped in, which is followed by trough. This is the lowest point at which recession ends and output starts increasing again. So this is one cycle which the economy goes through, and you have to determine in which cycle the economy is currently in. India saw a bull market between 1990 to 1999. In 2000, dot-com burst happened. Then bull market was there from 2003 till 2008. Until 2008, recession swept in, and then we saw a secular bull market. And after some consolidation till 2020, due to M20, we saw market entered into deep correction phase due to COVID, and then it rebounded faster in first 3 months of first quarter of 2020. So we can see this is a yellow line and this is a blue line. Yellow line is our Indian Nifty, and the blue line is the Dow Jones, that is a US indices. So you can see in 2000, when the dot-com bubble happened, the markets slipped, and then again in 2008, the Indian market suffered due to the recession or the subprime crisis in 2008, and then gradually the indices rises in the year 2018, and then it fall in 2020, it fall due to epidemic crisis. We have followed the same trend as of the Dow Jones indices, because we are more correlated with US economy. You can see the trend from 2000 to 2020, the 20 years. We can see how the indices have shaped up. You can see from the year 2000 till 2020, in a span of 20 years, the Nifty moved from 1528 till 8000 as in March 2020, and then again we bounced back to 11,000 in the month of July 2020. Now we talk about 2000, 2008 and 2020 recession. From 1997 to 2000, dot-com bubble or internet bubble we call it was there, which crashed in the year 2000 to 2001. These people saw the spectacular rise of many technology companies who had seen their valuation rise sharply thanks to the spread of the internet. Internet companies that were operating from garages and their homes were prospering due to the hits these companies were getting on their websites. Even they do not have any capacity to generate revenues. Companies were raising the valuation by simply calling them a dot-com company or suffixing a .com to their name. Investors were simply buying stocks based on the website hits. So all the upcoming technology-related companies were valued more than the companies which were existing for a long period of time. For example, Infosys was listed in the market for a long period of time in 2000, but most of the dud companies who were calling them technology companies in 2000 were valued more than the Infosys. No earnings were there of these upcoming companies. Every single day, IPOs of internet and technology-related companies were seen, and many saw double their prices on the first day of trading. Ultimately, we saw a 50% decline in Nifty from March 2000 till September 2001, and Dow Jones saw 37% decline during the same period. Then came 2008 recession, when the US market saw a housing bubble, due to which all emerging markets then, including India, was not spared. In 2008 recession swept in. Consumer demand in developed economies were hurt by the crisis, leading to lower demand for Indian goods and services, thus affecting the Indian exports. In 2003, Goldman Sachs came out with a report that BRIC nations would set the growth part of the whole world economy. BRIC stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and they are believed to be the future dominant suppliers of manufactured goods, services, and raw materials by 2050. China and India will both become the world dominant suppliers of manufactured goods and services, respectively, while Brazil and Russia will become similarly dominant suppliers of raw materials. In 2010, South Africa joined the group, which is always referred to as BRICS, that is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. On the other hand, from 2003 till 2006 end, in US, banking and lending institutions relaxed their strict lending norms and were aggressively lending housing loans even to the people who were less qualified. This drove up housing prices to levels that many could not otherwise afford, as also interest rates were rising too, which had an negative impact on home prices. See the movie The Big Short. It was on Netflix when I saw. You must go and see the movie if you get hands-on. It will show how some financial experts predicted the collapse of US housing bubble markets as loans were provided to every Tom, Dick and Harry guy in the US without any verification. And the property prices were rising up like crazy without any base. This brought home prices down, which resulted in loan default, as lower home prices forced banks and lending institutions to fulfill loan repayments. And in case the borrowers are not able to service the loan, banks foreclose the accounts, sending home prices even more lower. This turned into major crisis which led to the US economic collapse, affecting other markets too. We saw both Dow Jones and all emerging markets, including our own Sensex, decline almost 50% approximately in 1 year from Jan 2008 till Jan 2009. You can see the graph for the 2008 crisis of Dow Jones, Nifty, Shanghai and JSS. Dow Jones is the US market, Nifty is our own Indian market, Shanghai Composite is the China market, and JSS Composite is the Jakarta market. As you can see, the Dow Jones slipped from 12,000 till 7,000 in a span of 1 year. Similarly, you can see our own Nifty slipped from 6,500 approximate to below 3,000 Nifty. That's more than 50% decline. During the period of recession, demand is low and sales are low. Companies at these times suffer a fall in profits, and some companies even show losses. Similarly, during the period of recovery or upturn, demand is high and sales are on high. So are the profits. The implications of market risks should be clear to the investor. When there is a recession in the country or the economy, the prices of stocks moves downward. All the companies suffer the effects of recession, irrespective of the fact they are high-performing companies or low-performing ones. Similarly, the stock prices are positively affected by the boom in the economy. Stocks which have strong balance sheet can weather the storm, but weak balance sheet stocks are unable to weather this weather. So one had to do research about how the country will be shaped up over the next 6 months or 1 year by analyzing the country's economic structure. Now you must have got a hang on how the economy plays the role on the stock market. We have seen in the past and also in the future, we will see how many economic booms and busts will come in the market. So there will be huge opportunities to be made. I would like you to read one newspaper daily, like the Economic Times, to get the information about the Indian market and global market as well. The more knowledge you get on the economy, you can make better decisions about the stock market. In my next video, I will be taking you a tour on how to analyze the businesses to invest in. Bye.